Hey guys, just before we get to today's clip, just a quick reminder for all Serie A fans in the UK and Ireland, you can now stream every single match live on OneFootball. No matter which team you're backing, OneFootball's got you covered. You can watch on via the OneFootball app on your phone or connected TVs from Apple TV, Google TV, Samsung, LG, and Fire TV, or on the website tv.onefootball. And what's even better is that you can choose how you watch it. You can grab a team or a season pass to watch all the matches until the end of the season, or just the ones from your favourite club. There's also a match day pass for £9.99 to watch all the weekend's games, or a single match on pay-per-view for £4.99. And yeah, if you missed a live game, you'll still get access to all the match highlights too. So if Serie A is your thing, OneFootball is where it's at. We'll have a link in the description of the episode for you to buy your preferred stream.
Welcome to the Italian Football Podcast.
But let's talk about the game that does matter. Inter versus Barcelona, Champions League semi-final, second leg, Tuesday, 2100 CET at San Siro. I'm going to be saying this every week now because it annoys you. So 3-3 from the first leg in Barcelona. Let's go through, first of all, the situation with injuries, right? Because this is a tricky one. We'll start with Inter. The two big ones are Lautaro and Pavard. Lautaro got injured in the first leg, came off. I would have given him no chance, but now we're recording this on Monday morning, and we're seeing talk that he could be back. What do you make of it?
Basically, what's happening is that he's partially training with the squad today on Monday morning, and that's in order to see how his body reacts to that kind of training, and see how does the injury react. They don't want to make it worse, but he's doing. I just got to say, Lautaro Martinez is becoming. I was very when he was appointed captain, I was a little bit. Does he is he captain's material? Not that I don't think he's a fantastic player and that Inter should put him at the center of the project. They absolutely should, and that was the correct decision. But to be a captain, I think you need other things. You need to identify with the club. You need to take leadership. You need to do what Zanetti used to do. You need to do what Del Piero did at Juve. You know what I mean? You have to embody the club and the culture at the club. Well, this season, there is no doubt that they made the right decision. Let's remember, Lautaro Martinez cut after Copa America last summer, cut his holiday short because Inter were struggling and starting the season with no attackers as they were all injured, a theme that's been recurring this entire season. He cut it short, he came back and started a pre-season when he was not fit. He's done this pretty much the entire season, like sacrificing himself. And now he's really risking himself. I don't know, risking his health, and Inter are as well. I kind of understand why they're doing it. They want to see, because it's the most important game they've played in many, many years.
If he comes through this Monday session and then into Tuesday, do you risk him from the start, or do you put him on the bench and bring him on? But then it's a difficult one, because if you risk him from the start and he doesn't make it, okay, you take him off, you've got someone to bring on. But then if you don't risk him from the start and then you bring him on, especially in an important time of the game, and then he gets injured and then you've wasted a sub, or he might even be one of your last subs, then it's a difficult one. What do you do?
No. He's going to start. If he plays, he's going to start. I mean, of course, that's why they're doing this, because they want to see whether or not he can. They need him. He's showing incredible leadership. He's showing incredible sacrifice. He's really sacrificing himself for the sake of Inter here. And if they manage to pull it off, I'm more worried that this is a risk. Yes. I'm more worried that this could haunt him and Inter further down the line, and I don't want that. However, having said that, I completely understand why he's doing it and why Inter are allowing him to do it. Because again, this isn't just any old player. This is Inter's captain, and he's been unbelievable in the Serie A in the Champions League this season. I mean, the 8 goals that he scored. I mean, if we discard the last game against Barcelona, before that, he'd scored 7 of those 8 goals in his 5 latest starts in the Champions League. And so if Inter are to do something, they need Lautaro. They're going to call on him, and he needs to respond. And that is what he's doing now. He's responding to the call, and he's partially training. They're going to see today whether or not his body, how his body handles this training load, and if he can stay, and if so that he doesn't worsen the injury. But if there is a chance and they do it and they see that, okay, his body responded positively to this training load, there's no doubt in my mind that he's going to start.
Okay, that's Lautaro.
However, he's not going to play 90 minutes. There's no doubt that he's not. I mean, he's definitely coming off at some point.
Okay. Pavard, what's the situation with him?
He's going to start. I think he's fully recovered, from what I understand.
Is he back in training? Is he back?
Yeah, he's back in training. Yeah, he's back in training. He's got personalized training, but he's with the squad just like Lautaro, and he's responded far better. And it seems to me that there's no doubt that he's going to start. So Pavard he's going to be incredibly important. Pavard, I think, is going to be, in terms of the defense, because Inter are going to need him, because his experience, his defensive read of the game, going forward, his aerial ability, his marking ability, his cutting out Barcelona passes,
his distribution as well.
His distribution. He's fundamental for Inter to tick. So Pavard is very, very important, and it seems like he, with 95% certainty, unless something happens during training today, as I said, we're recording this on Monday morning, unless something dramatic happens, Pavard will start tomorrow. Okay,
well, that's great news. The only other selection question, because I think otherwise I'll go through the team, Di Marco or Augusto at left wing back. I mean, the fact that Di Marco was rested against, he came on against Verona, suggests that Di Marco is going to start, which, having seen him really get quite smoked by Yamal in that first leg, first of all, is he going to start? And secondly, is it a mistake to start him?
He's going to start. I think it's Simone Inzaghi has decided to die on this hill. It's this, and I don't understand it. I literally do not understand it. Carlos Augusto is defensively like levels better than Federico Di Marco, whether Federico Di Marco is in full fitness and in form or not. This isn't something new. This is something we've been saying for 3-4 years. Since the final. I mean, I remember us previewing the Champions League final against Man City, and I was talking about no, Di Marco. They need to worry about that, because Di Marco holds off. They need to play someone else there, because he holds off too much, and he doesn't go tight on players because he's afraid of getting dribbled, which happens anyway, because when he stands off, he gives them time and space, and he needs Bastoni and Mkhitaryan to help him, which means that they're playing with 10.5 men at most defensively against Lamine Yamal. I mean, it's just, I don't understand this. This is a mental glitch that Inzaghi's got in his head. And I mean, I understand the reasoning behind it, because yes, Di Marco can play that diagonal ball. Absolutely. And Barcelona struggle with that. And we saw that in the first leg, that Inzaghi done his homework. When they play that diagonal ball, Barcelona, like most teams, struggle, but Barcelona do it particularly a lot because they play with such a high line that they don't have time to recover. That's true. But there's only one counter argument to that. Bastoni can play that ball just as well. You don't need to play Federico Di Marco. But he's decided that he's going to start Di Marco. He's going to die on this hill. Hopefully he doesn't. Inter and him don't die on this hill. But I don't understand why you would play with fire like this. Because, again, Carlos Augusto, you saw against Bayern Munich, he is the guy you go to. He defensively, when, and also against Barcelona last week in the second leg, Inter had much more balance when Carlos Augusto was on.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, Yamal dropped off. I mean, that might have also been a bit of tiredness from the Copa del Rey final, but he did drop off once Augusto came on. He wasn't anywhere near it. We'll come on to Yamal in a minute. I just want to go through Barcelona. So Barcelona, Koundé is definitely out. It seems from the latest reports that Balde is also pretty much definitely out. So that's both fullbacks out, which is a big plus for Inter, of course. But Lewandowski is back in training, and there's a chance he could. I think the word is he's very likely to play, but it's more likely at this stage it will be as a kind of a substitute last half an hour. But again, we'll have to see with that. We might be surprised. I'm very shocked that he's managed to get back this quickly with a hamstring. Hamstrings are usually you can't get back this quickly, but modern football and everything, the players seem to get back quickly.
I think I've got to say, I think both of these teams, whether they're injured or not, unless they absolutely cannot play, the players will grind their teeth and get through this. It's too big of a game for anyone to not risk. Like to not want to, because
exactly. What's the alternative? You don't play, you go out, and then your season's over. Well, I guess the season's not over for Barcelona. They're 4 points clear, and they've got Real Madrid in the Clasico. So, but yeah, generally we expect Barcelona to win the title, whatever.
And that's another thing. Don't Barcelona play Real Madrid this weekend? Like the following
they do.
weekend?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
That's also something that's really important here. That shouldn't be underestimated. Here is that Barcelona, yes, they're 4 points clear, but they're not going to be able to rotate too much against Real Madrid. They have to keep Real Madrid, because if Real Madrid win that, they're just 1 point behind them. And that reopens.
But that's not that doesn't really concern Inter. That concerns.
No, I'm talking about going into
Barcelona
this game
before they play Real Madrid. It's not going to affect the way Barcelona go into this game, is it?
Well, I think that there is it's a calculation, because they can't completely, like, he needs to remember that he's playing Real Madrid on the weekend. He can't just not just risk everything, and then he loses if he does, and then he loses 2-3 players, and he has to rely on essentially teenagers again against Real Madrid. It's not, he has to take that into the calculations here, and I think that's something that's good for Inter.
I think it would be better for Inter if they were playing Real Madrid the weekend, like they played Real Madrid in the Copa del Rey final, because that definitely.
No, I don't want them boosted mentally again.
Well, boosted mentally, but there's also, we saw in the first leg, Barcelona got tired in the last 20. They wasn't the same Barcelona in the last 20 minutes. I thought Inter finished the best. Inter looked the more likely team to score the fourth goal
as the game went on.
Barcelona, that incredible press and smothering you and suffocating you and not letting you out, even with the high line. We didn't see that in the second half, which naturally happens generally. You can't keep that up for 90 minutes, and not even with modern, even if Jurgen Klopp's your manager. Maybe if Jurgen Klopp's your manager, you can do it. But no more words said. We saw them fall off in the second half, and I think that was also because they played a Copa del Rey final, went to extra time. They played Real Valladolid at the weekend. They rested virtually their entire team as well. So they're going to be fresh going into this game. So I would expect a Barcelona team that will actually last longer in this game. They'll be able to play at a pace and an intensity that will last longer than it did in the first leg, I think. So that's an added difficulty. But if we come back to the team news, we're looking at a team of Szczesny's going to play in goal, even though Ter Stegen came back. Flick's confirmed Szczesny will play in goal. We're probably looking at Garcia at right back. Gerard Martin won't play, not after he was horrible against Inter, and I don't think he's particularly very good. So I think that Inigo Martinez will probably go left back, which will mean Kubasi and Araujo that will go centre backs. I actually think Araujo is better than Inigo Martinez for this kind of game anyway. He's faster, especially with the high line. But anyway, that's the defence. And the midfield will be De Jong and Pedri will be the holders. Rafinha and Yamal on the wings. And then we're looking at Olmo or Fermin Lopez as the attacking midfield. It was Olmo in the first leg. We'd assume, because Fermin played, I think, at the weekend, it will probably be Olmo. We're assuming based on that. And then up front, it will be Ferran or Lewandowski. If we're surprised with Lewandowski, which I wouldn't completely rule out.
No.
So, I mean, if we look at where this game is going to be won and lost, what the chances Inter have, I mean, it's quite obvious in terms of where they can get at Barcelona. We saw it in the first leg. We knew it before the first leg. The line is incredibly high. And we saw that there are certain patterns that work to get behind this Barcelona team. It worked for the first goal. They Inzaghi's clever. Inter baited Barcelona players to smother them at the left back area of the pitch, They baited them in there, and then they switched it suddenly to the right, and there was
and that's why he wants. That's why he wants
Di
Marco. Yeah, but the thing is, Bastoni can play that ball too, and that's my contention. Bastoni absolutely can play that ball.
I agree. The point I'm making is that this is where you get at Barcelona. You switch the play. There's acres of space on the, and I think that Barcelona also are not used to playing against teams wing-back systems. No. Teams that have wing-backs, you don't get. I can't think of hardly anyone, and I don't know if anyone plays it in La Liga. They're not used to it, and I think they had trouble with that. And I think that's a weapon for Inter that Barcelona are not used to it, and these gaps are there. And I don't think that they'll change. Barcelona will have one way of playing. They'll play the same way. They'll play with that high line, and Inter can get in behind them. So I'm sure Inter will create chances in this game. I'm sure of it. Even if Lautaro doesn't play, I'm sure of it. It's whether he can keep him out the other way. So that's one, and then the other one is the set pieces. Look, it's a mismatch. It is a massive mismatch. Look at the difference in sizes between the two teams. Inter's a 6-foot monsters, brilliant in the air. Inter have scored the most goals in Serie A by a mile from set pieces and crosses and corners. They've scored the last 2 games of the Champions League. They've scored 4 goals off corners. It's insane. You know, so they have to, again, and they've got the 2 best deliverers of a corner in the world, in my opinion, in Calhanoglu and Di Marco. You won't find there's no one better at delivering a ball from corners than those 2. So again, these are the 2 things they've got to take advantage of in this second leg.
100%. And above all, I want to see Barella, Calhanoglu, and Mkhitaryan be able to absorb the pressure and dictate the play a little better than they did in the away game. I thought they were too out of sync. I think the main culprit because of that is the domino effect from playing a Federico Di Marco, which was essentially a training ground cone for Lamine Yamal to run around, and that was the frustration with that, because essentially playing with 10 men, that entire left hand side is capitulated, and you have your midfield is unbalanced. But having said that, this is the San Siro, and the Curva Nord has said that their ticket price protest that they've been doing, staying quiet for the first 20 minutes, is over. The San Siro needs to be a boiling cauldron, and that's key, because that is an advantage, that the San Siro can be an incredibly intimidating place. I know that Barcelona players are all fantastic players who are used to playing in a hostile environment, but that can help Inter players as well. It's Inter's home, it's San Siro, it's a European game at the San Siro. The San Siro needs to be on top of everything, on giving extra energy to Inter. It needs to become that cauldron that it can become when these games of this magnitude are played, and that's no small factor. The San Siro can carry Inter to the final if they're on it, and if Inter can respond. Because again, if we go into a game where the way that we're expecting it, and there's this much space, and Inter can attack the space with Denzel Dumfries and Marcus Thuram and score like they did in the first leg, that will the San Siro will just become like a spaceship and lift off into space, and it's a very difficult place for you to, as a opposing team. It's incredibly intimidating.
It's an atmosphere that other Italian clubs generally don't have. Maybe Juventus a bit more since they changed the stadium, but they're
Napoli,
more of a
Stadio Olimpico.
They're on top
Stadio
of you.
Olimpico. Yeah, Stadio Olimpico is in Naples as well. Like but
those 2 stadiums, the crowd are further away from the pitch.
Yeah, they are. So they absolutely are. But I'm talking about the atmosphere generally. It can be an intimidating place, and you want to get the crowd with you. And Inter need to do that, and the crowd needs to do that.
For sure.
This to go. But it is, let's not, I think for Barcelona are favorites. I think Inter are not the favorites. And I think it will, given where they are physically as well, it will take a miracle